Live chat. My name is Aaron Apter. I'm a professional drummer and musician here in Nashville, Tennessee. And what I like to do is every week, on top of doing live streams of my gigs and doing long form videos, I like to host a kind of a weekly live chat and talk about a specific topic, and then also answer questions. Happy to take questions from anybody else. And really, it's meant to be a discussion, not a lecture. So I encourage people to hop in, chat, say hello, tell me where you're from. And if you have any questions, it can be questions about the topic at hand, or it can just be a question about music in general, about Nashville, about anything in between, anything that I talk on my channel. But I'm doing today doing a live chat, and I'm going to say this again at the end of this segment, but I'm going to be doing live chats for about, I would say, 4 more weeks, and then at the start of the year, I think I'm going to change the format. I might be doing something more like a podcast. I might be doing something live still. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to approach it, because my schedule is all over the place, and also my life and career are really evolving, and I kind of want to move with that and continue to put out content for people who are following and continue to be a resource for people who are following. So I might be doing a podcast in lieu of this coming in the new year. I might be doing a monthly live chat, make it more of an event, but I'm probably gonna be putting out more content, and really your feedback is really helpful. So if there's something that you want to see, hear, something you have questions about, please put it in the comments, because really this channel is your channel, and I'm here to kind of like act as a resource for everybody. Hey Joel, thanks for joining us. And I thought a lot about what I wanted to, there's so much on my mind lately, and I've been super busy and also in a really weird transition period. And I almost want to silo that for a little bit later. But I've been documenting all these changes that are happening in my life and kind of what I'm going through. And I plan on putting out maybe a longer form video at the end of the year, just documenting just this really interesting journey I'm on right now in terms of health, in terms of mental health, in terms of just self-awareness and depression. Because it's something that is really, as I kind of get into it, it's something that's really prevalent, I think, in the music industry and all other industries, and it's not something we talk about a lot. And we often don't talk about things like our insecurity, we often don't talk about things like our fears, and we often feel like we need to put on this front online like everything's great. And sometimes things aren't great, because if it was easy and great, everybody would do it. But if you're a musician, you know that this is a pretty difficult path to plow, both in terms of career navigation, but also in terms of emotions and mental health. Because this, being a musician, it's like basically your value sometimes is put on stage. So if you're playing a gig and there's like 2 people there, some people can feel worthless and they can really mess with their heads. Or some people might see other friends of theirs who are succeeding while they aren't, and they feel envy, and that really impacts their career. And I don't want to harp on one subject too much, but this is because really what my channel is about. I don't want to make it like a self-help channel. I don't want to make it a feel-good, let's talk it out channel. I want to have this be a resource to musicians who are trying to climb the ladder, and musicians who are trying to advance their career, maybe get the courage to make a big change, make a big move, and who want to unlock that next level in their career. And one common thing I found that it's often not the technical skills that are holding us back, but rather our mental, our emotional skills, our psychological skills. Some of us may not be good at networking. Some of us may be afraid to put ourselves out there. Some of us might have some deep-seated insecurity issues, and when those aren't dealt with over time, they creep into your work, they affect your work, they affect your career and your opportunities moving forward. And I'm going to be diving into that a little bit more in the new year. But really, what I wanted to talk to you about today was health insurance and health regarding musicians. So when I say health insurance, that's one of the things people always think about in terms of music. After you get past all right, you're a rock star, you get to drink and party every day, and you just walk up, show up and play a gig, and then you walk away and it's all a party. Obviously, it's not that. But after we think about that, and we think, I think when the pragmatic parts of us sit in, it is like, okay, well, if I'm going to be a musician, how am I going to cover my health insurance? How am I going to pay for my bills? Do I need to have a day job to supplement my income? Do I need to work at Starbucks so I can get health insurance? And I still think this is a huge kind of area, a blind spot for musicians. And it's not fun to talk about. It's not exciting. It's probably stressful. But what happens if you get up from your chair, fall down, and break your hand right now? What do you do? If music is your only form of income, what do you do when that happens? Do you have health insurance? And if you don't have health insurance, what do you do? Do you have a fallback plan? And these are all things that I never considered, because I've always been really just kind of driven by my gut and things that I want to do and that make me happy. And I've always wanted to play music, and I'm like, listen, I will sacrifice stability, I will sacrifice security. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to take a chance because I believe in myself and I believe in what I'm doing. And if I go out and do this, I'll find a way to make it work. And part of me admires that cavalier devotion to that, this is who I am, this is what I do, I have to find a way to make this work. But also, I did that a lot when I was younger and still continue to do that to this day in some ways, and it hasn't worked out. It has really held my career back in many ways. So case in point, about 10 years ago, I was, I've told versions of the story on this channel before. I was ran over by a car. I was riding my bike, got hit by a drunk driver. Driver didn't have insurance. I wasn't driving a car, I was riding a bike, so my auto insurance wasn't there. And I had just lost my job and I had no health insurance. So what happens if you're in that situation? And I wouldn't want anybody to go through what I went through. And I hope you don't go through that. But really ask yourself, what happens if you get sick, if you get hurt as a musician? Do you have health insurance? And even now, my health insurance, it's really only for like catastrophic events, like if I get run over by a car. Because I've tried to use my health insurance for routine care, for vision and dental, and it's not covering anything. And I'm behind the 8 ball again here. And it's unfortunate. And I'm not here to talk about remedies to the health insurance or, industry, healthcare industry. That's beyond my abilities and beyond what my audience views. But I was also talking this morning with a few other musicians that are in my fantasy football league of all places. And one of the musicians in that group had a medical emergency this year where he was taken out for like a month or two. Like he had to be in the hospital. Another musician was talking about like being in the poorhouse right now, saying they're struggling. And I've also seen a lot of musicians struggle with things, whether they are letting on to it or not. Struggling with substance addiction, struggling with depression, struggling with abusive relationships with another person or even with themselves. Stuff that's pretty hard and not easy to talk about. And so what happens if you are a musician and you get really sick? You find yourself, the walls are closing in and you don't know what to do with your finances and you are drowning. What do you do about your taxes? there's all these adult things that many musicians haven't stepped up and taken care of. And I know this from firsthand experience. And I've been cleaning that up myself this year. So if we go back in time to 10 years ago when I was ran over by a car, that was probably one of the worst years of my life. Second worst year of my life. It was, I basically had to sell all of my instruments. I had to sell my car. I had to move. I almost had to move back home. A lot of times I didn't have enough food to eat, money to eat. I was in a really, really bad spot. And like, what do I do? And I felt like I was trapped because if I couldn't move back home because I was injured and I couldn't really move. But then like, I would have to upend my life and like move 10 hours away back to live with my parents. And I didn't want to do that, but I didn't have enough money to cover even basic living expenses. And that was a horrifying time in my life. And so during that time, I was like, okay, well, I got to pull a rabbit out of the hat. I got to find a way to make things happen. I used quite a few resources. And what I connected with a great charity called Music Cares. And I have a link in the description. But Music Cares is a charity that really helps like musicians who are in a short-term medical emergency, financial emergency, housing emergency, kind of things that where there's no support system for us as musicians. And so we have something to fall back on something. So Music Cares was great for me in that regards. I just had to show them like, listen, I'm a professional musician. Here's a couple years of my tax returns. This is what's going on. And they helped me out. They helped me cover some rent. They helped me cover some bills. And the same with what was called the Actors Fund at that time. I think now it's the Entertainment Community Fund. That's also in the link as well. Another great organization that helped me out. And I could really fill up like 3 hours with conversations about what I learned in that year where I was injured. I was in the hospital. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any savings to fall back on. I was in a really bad spot. But now when I see any musician struggling and they feel that, oh, I can't really make my bills right now, or, oh, you know what, I'm sick, I need help, but I can't afford to go see a doctor. I always refer them to Music Cares. It's a great place to start. And it can be really freaking frightening. And even now, like with the health insurance marketplace opening up, we're musicians. We aren't insurance brokers. And I don't know if you've ever tried navigating the marketplace for health insurance, but it's overwhelming and scary. And like, I don't know, like choosing between like these plans and reading all the fine print, I feel like I need a degree in law or medical coding to handle it. So last year when I picked my plan, I thought it was good and I went to use it and it's been terrible. It's been horrible for me. It hasn't covered anything, literally. I pay less for my prescriptions paying out of cost. So this year, I'm working with Music Health Alliance. That's also in my link, and that's another great resource for musicians. I've been consulting with Music Health Alliance, and they are helping me find a plan, and they are also helping support me with some medical bills that I need to have taken care of. I have a cracked tooth that I'm in constant pain about, and my medical insurance won't cover that. So I reached out to Music Health Alliance, and they've been helpful. And I don't know exactly what your specific situation is if you're a musician watching this, but all those resources I listed in the description, I would really check them out. Like, what do you have to lose? It's not fun, it's not exciting, but they are extremely helpful. And I talked about like showing my, tax returns, my previous tax returns to get help from Music Cares. Well, now as I re-entered music again and my tax returns from previous years aren't in music, I had to prove to them that I was a musician. I had to prove like a certain kind of financial dependency on it. And I was freaking scared. Like, I don't know how to get my finances, my taxes in line, all things I've never really done before. And I'm not saying that proudly. I'm saying that as, okay, I'm being really forced to address some things in life right now. So it was funny because I needed help getting support with my financial documents to prove to Music Cares. And so I was going to reach out to Music Cares. Hey, Music Cares, can you help me with something so I can prove to you that I need to get help? But they hooked me up with a great service called Life's Jam, and it's a kind of financial coaching for musicians. And I've worked with Rachel, and she's freaking great. I love her. And every musician that works with Rachel says, where were you years ago? Because I needed you back then. But Rachel, someone like Music Cares hooked me up with Rachel, and she's at Life's Jam. And she's been really, really helpful with me as we are starting to work on getting my finances in order. And in fact, she connected me with somebody in another program called a Touring Career Workshop, and you can also see that in the link. And that's another great community charity that helps people who work on touring productions, like who work in this lifestyle that's a little bit different, and there's not that structure like the rest of normal life is. And she hooked me up with them, and I've been telling her how I've been pushing a cart with my gear over a mile to every gig back and forth because my car right now. And so she's hooking me up with them, and we are possibly looking at some way for them to help assist with me buying a car. And do I say all this stuff proudly? No, not necessarily. I wish I was in a better position, and I really, I wish I was in a better position financially for myself, but also like in terms of appearance. No one ever wants to say like, I need help. It's tough. It can be embarrassing. You can swallow your pride. Like, it's hard to swallow your pride, especially when you built up this persona online where, it seems like everything's hunky-dory and life is easy and perfect. And I think that's one of the dangers about social media and these appearances that we like really struggle to keep up, because sooner or later you get behind the 8 ball, but you don't want to ask for help because you don't want to let people know that you're living in a house of cards. And that was really me in the past. And one of the reasons why I've dedicated myself this past year to being more honest with my own self and more honest with other people is so I don't have to hide from this bullshit. Like, I don't have to front. I can be exactly honest with who I am. And also give other people permission to be honest with who they are and just be their authentic selves. It's a tough one to do. But that's one thing I've been really dedicated to this year. And you know what? That's taking a lot of work on my behalf. I'm probably spending a good almost $1,000 a month on mental health this year, which, man, it's a lot. But that's something that I've never addressed before, and it's paying off. Not immediately, but it's paying off, and it takes time. And one of the last things I wanted to say is there's a saying that I've never really liked, and it's, if you need help, get help. And I understand where that's coming from. It's because sometimes when we're talking about mental health, we just say that because we want other people to get help, but how? And that's kind of upset me because I've always wanted to get help, but I've never had the resources. So when people say, if you need help, get help, I say, well, that's great for you to say. Are you going to pay for it? Most people are like, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I'm like, okay, well, please help me. How do I get help? Because my health insurance won't cover any of that. And that is me being honest and me being frustrated with, all right, this is kind of what the hand that has been dealt to me. However, like, getting frustrated doesn't fix anything. And sometimes me just like sharing this with other people at least lets other people know that they are not alone, and that, yeah, some of us do need help, but we don't know where to start. And if you do need help, like if you do need counseling, if you feel like you're going to snap, if you're not sure what is wrong, but you need help, whether that's physically, whether that's mentally, maybe that's a combination of both, maybe you're having substance or dependency issues, I highly recommend checking out Music Cares, checking out Music Health Alliance, checking out the Entertainment Community Fund. Again, those links are right there. And I gain nothing from that. I'm not peddling anything here, but I really want to say that some of us struggle. And when we struggle, some of us don't have that safety net. And when we don't have that safety net, it makes our panic even worse. And then that causes us to even just snowball. If that's the case, do yourself a favor, advocate for yourself. Reach out to one of those links that I sent. And know that there's not going to be one instant solution for it. There's not one instant cause of your problems, and there's not going to be one instant solution. But don't just ignore mental health. Don't just ignore that toothache. And don't put it off because, oh, I can't budget for that right now. Easier said than done, I know, especially with the way healthcare costs today. I don't have all the answers, and I do acknowledge that it can be very frustrating. But from my own walks, I can say that if you invest some time into reaching out for help, finding resources, there is help out there. And I try to be a resource in my own way where I'm saying, listen, this is what I've gone through. These are the steps I've taken. I really don't have the capability to help other people myself. But what I like to do is I like to have discussions here. I like to point people towards resources. And if nothing else, I like to let people know that they're not alone. Because I know a lot of people watch my live streams and they love them, whether I'm playing or talking. A lot of people will watch my long form videos and they're like, oh, this is great. Everything you're doing is great. And like I get emails from people and it's really humbling and honoring. And throughout all this, as like kind of, I guess my profile grows, I want to be as real as possible to show people that it's not just about getting followers. It's not just about getting gigs. There's always going to be kind of some things that you need to handle that aren't very glamorous, like mental health, like dental health, like financial health. And so you kind of have to learn how to be your own boss, learn how to be your own parent, learn how to, oh shit, if there's a fire, you need to put it out and not just ignore it. But again, those resources I linked are great for any musician who is in crisis, any musician who kind of feels like their back is against the wall. Yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there, and I'm going to leave this chat up because I really want, if you guys need help, like I'm not saying get help and just walk away. I'm giving you links to places where you can get help. If you're a musician, if you're an artist, if you work in the entertainment industry, all those links below, I guarantee you there's at least one there that is going to be able to directly help you. And why I'm making a live chat all about this is because when I was with Music Cares years ago, and they got me out of a pickle, I said, thank you so much. How can I help? How can I donate? How can I support you guys? And what they've always said is just spread the word, because we want to help other musicians. Let more people know about us. And that's what I'm doing here, because I think they do great work, all those charities. But also, if you're a musician, you deserve it. If you're an artist, you deserve it. And a lot of times we think that we don't deserve charity or we don't want to accept charity. But so many times we give out charity ourselves. So many times we perform for free. So many times we share our gifts with other people for free, not because we're expecting anything, just because we love to do it and we love to bring others joy. and it's not just the time we spend sharing our gifts, but it's our time developing it, our sacrifices we've made to be able to share those gifts with other people. So if you're a musician, like if you're an artist, if you're an entertainer, if you're working in this industry, even though maybe the dollars don't always tell you that, maybe the infrastructure doesn't tell you that, you matter and you deserve health and you deserve to be taken care of because you've given so much to the world. And I used to feel shame in asking for help, whether that's financial help, whether that's for medical help, whether that's for emotional needs. But none of us do this together. Like, you can't learn your instrument on your own. You can try, and some people do, but it's usually much easier if you have somebody kind of holding your hand through that. And I would say the same with like navigating things like taxes, finances, health insurance, mental health. Sometimes having a professional, sometimes somebody who has taken that walk before you, makes the walk a little bit easier for you. So as we approach the holidays, we approach a new year, like before we even start making these New Year's resolutions, I would start looking into like, okay, what can I do to like maybe start taking care of my health a little bit more? And so Joel talked about like, exercising and eating right can also go a long way in prevention. Joel, you're absolutely right. And one of the most important things I've learned about music is what I learned when I was working in healthcare, when I was basically rehabbing injuries for other people, which is what I was doing in between my musical careers. Another long story. But I often tell people that your health, your injury, your recovery, it's not all for one thing. It's not all caused by that one thing, and it's not all going to be solved by one thing. It's usually we need to like take a look at everything and what's the best way to get you on track in terms of health, mentally and physically. So if your foot kind of hurts, but you're also drinking like 30 beers a day, maybe we'll cut you back a little bit on those beers first. And is that going to make your foot feel better? No, but if we get a handle on that, that's going to give you a lot better chance of improving. But before I like go off into the weeds, I just want to say that health is really a cumulative thing. Think about it like music. Like there's not one scale, there's not one song, there's not one technique you need to learn. It's just steady practice, steady devotion, incremental chipping away at it. And it's almost like a lifestyle. Same with like managing your career around music, and same with managing your health. There's not one thing. It's really a cumulative thing. So yeah, some food for thought. And again, I'm going to be doing live chats for the rest of the year, and then I'm not sure how, but I'm gonna be changing formats because I'm not always gonna be able to be available at the same time, but I still want to give access to people. So I might do like, you send in questions and I answer them on a weekly or monthly basis. I may not be able to do it live. May do a podcast of some sorts. I'm not sure, but things are changing a little bit. Looking to move forward with that. So heads up. But if there's one takeaway I can give you today is like, you're not alone. It's frustrating, especially with like the health insurance marketplace opening up. Take a look at those resources like Musicians Health Alliance, Entertainment Community Fund. Those are all places that can, not like, even if you don't need charity, but if you need just someone to help you find a plan that works for you and helps you understand, please contact them. Totally free. And yeah, take care of yourselves as musicians, as people. So I'm going to sign off. I encourage all of you to be kind to one another. Also be kind to yourself. Go easy on yourself. Kindness to yourself, it's not about feeling good. It's about being healthy. And when you're kind to yourself, you have a lot more room to love and support other people. So love yourself, support yourself so that you can get back to other people. Feel free to drop questions in the comments. Thank you for watching. Everyone have a great week.